it going today, YouTube? I'm Adam Davis, and I am the Average Snake Keeper. Today I'm going to try and finally see if I can't get videos up in a landscape format. Like I said before in another video, the editing software that I've been using, or more like the editing app, because we're doing all this on a phone, has been really fixed for portrait mode. And I know there's still some people out there who actually watch YouTube on their computers, so we're going to try and make it so that full screen format will actually work for you guys. So I'm going to see what I can't do about finding some new program that I can use to kind of get things to work for my intros and everything else, so that we can keep it in the landscape format, which is clearly the preferred format for YouTube. Anyway, if you're enjoying these videos, please give them a like, and if you want to help out this channel to grow, please subscribe. And again, if you do subscribe and you check out my giveaway video that is in the videos list from last week, you will still have time to be entered in my merchandise giveaway, where I will be picking some winners to win t-shirts, mugs, and stickers. So without further ado, we're going to finally do the last animal in my collection as far as our little kind of introduction and meeting my collection, the animals that you're going to see on the channel and be working with. This is my newest animal, and this is a Sumatran short-tail python. She is apparently a 2018. She looks a little small for that age, so I don't really know exactly how old to gauge her. But she was at Nerd for a while, and then shipped out here to one of the few connects that I have out here in Rhode Island. And he was thinking about working with the species, and then I think just ended up sticking with blood pythons for what he was doing. So she became available pretty quick after he got her, really, I think. And when I heard about that, I had already been thinking about collecting this species, or at least adding it to my collection, for probably a good 6 months, because I have been watching a lot of videos from Dan Magano, and I'm going to link his channel in the description for this video. And quite honestly, I'll probably reference him a lot, because he's been a big inspiration for me to get out and do this. But anyway, for like 6 months, I had been kind of thinking about and looking into and researching these for kind of my next snake, because I had been really trying to decide what I wanted to add into the collection, whether I wanted another common boa, whether I wanted another Dumerel's boa, which sooner or later, I think honestly, if I go for something next year and expand, I'm going to need to get myself a female. But I think I really kind of wanted some variety more than adding another second species to whatever I already had. You know, I've got 2 ball pythons, but I really, at the end of the day, wasn't even trying to do that. So I started looking into a couple different species. I really wanted to get into carpet pythons, because I think they're stunning, and they're just like, they're a super cool kind of, I think just shape and behavior, and for pythons, and even their normals are just absolutely gorgeous, never mind all the jungles and things like that you end up seeing. But since they're semi-arboreal, I don't think I would feel right sticking them in a rack. Some people do, and I'm not going to ever say that the way that you're keeping your animals is wrong. I'm only ever going to share what I do, what I think, what works for me. But I would, I think if I had one, try and get it in a cage where it had a little bit of climbing space, so probably even higher than any of the PVC cages that I already had before. She's getting a little adventurous now. It's fun when she gets into that mode. But the other thing is just a lot of those, they can get pretty long. I've seen people with carpets that are like 8 feet. And even though, you know, I've gotten into boas, I kind of stuck with males to start, in the hopes that they really probably wouldn't push that size, that, you know, they'd probably be more like 5 to 7 feet. My Dumerel's boa looks like he's going to fit just that. We'll see how big my common boa gets, but same kind of thing. I'll prepare for a long snake, a really big snake, but I'm hoping for more of an average size to be able to deal with. But I do, especially after working with the species that I've had for a while, I do like the big ones. Even a ball python I kind of like just for the length that they get. They're still kind of a girthy, impressive snake. They're one that if, you showed somebody who's not used to seeing snakes in the wild, or, they're just used to around here, basically nearly the only snake you really find, unless you're out in the woods really, really looking, really herping. All you see in your yard around here are just common garter snakes. So you show all of a sudden somebody who's only used to that, you show them a ball python, and they're like, whoa, that's a big snake. Show it to a kid, that's a big snake. So that's kind of even what got me started with sticking with them. And overall, I definitely want to kind of mostly, we'll see where the collection ends up going, but especially if I do get into something like breeding way down the line, I want to stick with like constrictors, heavy body constrictors, rather than getting into like colubrids and stuff. Anyway, what sold me on these guys was not just the fact that I heard Sumatrans tend to have the most laid back and reasonable personality of all the short-tail pythons compared to, say, Borneos and Bloods, but just the size that all three of those species tend to reach. The Sumatrans here are reportedly the smallest of them as far as length goes, but I think you're looking at about on average maybe a 4 to 5 foot snake, maybe a little bit bigger if it's a big female. We'll see how big she actually gets, but the kind of idea is you've got a snake that's really not much longer, if longer, than like a ball python. But if you can kind of already see the body shape of this girl here, they're super thick. So you can have an animal, like I said, that's not that much longer than a ball python, but some of the ones I've seen, their width is basically almost like a Burmese python. So without you having a hugely long snake that needs like a really, really big enclosure, you can have basically a giant snake. Some end up weighing a decent amount, and they get to really, really impressive looking sizes. When you pull one out, that's really one that you can wow somebody with without having a retic or a berm or something like that. A snake so long that you need a couple people to safely even hold it. So I eventually, like I said, after seeing enough videos, seeing enough pictures, hearing enough people talk about them, doing enough research, decided this is the animal I want in my collection. And I've had her only maybe 3 weeks. So she's taken a meal. I'm going to feed her again probably this weekend. We'll see. My truck is in the shop, so I'm not able to get down to the store and get some food right now. But I didn't feed her again recently just because right after she ate, she went into shed, which, I didn't want to feed her super recently. I'm thinking for her size, maybe every 2 weeks, I'm going to give her either an adult mouse or an extra small rat. We do have like the feeder that the supplier that I usually get feeders from. They happen to have a pretty good selection of sizes for rats, so they call one of their sizes extra small, and it's a developed rat, but it's not, don't fall, it's not so big that it would end up being pretty wide for her. I'm trying to feed her almost in the same kind of way that I would feed a boa or a ball as far as the size of the meal. She was supposedly, taking adult mice, they said, at Nerd when my buddy got her, but I don't know. She looks like she can take a little more than what they'd give me for a large mouse here. And I don't want to get jumbo anything because it usually just means it's a fatty animal. But that's what I'm figuring her feeding cycle should kind of be for about now. If she gets a little bigger, I can move her maybe to 3 weeks. All these short tails are reportedly like really slow in their metabolism, so definitely not looking to feed her too quick, just to keep her healthy. But I've only just recently been able to start developing kind of a working relationship with her. Because again, right, when I first got her, I really wasn't trying to handle her. I did take her out a couple times just because I was adjusting a couple things in her enclosure. I ran her enclosure for about the better part of a week, maybe 5 days, while I was playing around with really trying to figure out how to get it humid but not soaking wet. These guys do like a little more humidity and a little more cool temperatures than any other species I own, except for maybe the Dumeral's boa. They can deal with pretty cool temperatures too. But these ones like it a little more humid. So she is currently the only animal that I have anything other than paper for substrate in their enclosure. She's on paper, but I add sphagnum moss to the enclosure just to kind of soak up a bit of that humidity. At first I was trying to get it lightly damp and squeeze it out, but I noticed that just eventually would get the whole thing soaking wet. So I just put it by the water dish and let it kind of naturally hold what's in there. And that allowed her, she had a absolutely perfect shed. There was like maybe one little piece kind of attached to her hide, but everything else came off in one nice piece, and she didn't have any stuck on her. So I like to use the sheds of my snake to kind of gauge where the humidity is. But she's been really great. The past couple times I've been able to take her out. I did try and shoot this video before, but I was running out of space, so I just freed up 19 gigabytes of memory on my phone, and hopefully I can keep that free and continue to work for now with just the phone for these videos. Might get an SD card, we'll see. But she's super chill, kind of just like this. This is about her movement speed. She's real fun if you like put her on the bed or something and she gets in this mode, because then she just is really exploratory, and she gets kind of upset when you try and pull her out of whatever she's trying to explore. So you really, when you're dealing with her, just like my Dumeral's boa, and in fact there's a lot of similarities that I've found between her and my Dumerals, and even the other Dumerals that I worked with, is that you really can't kind of grab from the midsection. And when I say grab, I don't mean, you know, yank onto your snake or anything like that, but as far as kind of trying to scoop and pull them back, you need to get up closer to her head, like here-ish, because otherwise you get that portion, and if she's like, nope, I want to explore, she just slithers and moves real quick right away from you. So for normally her just poking around and plodding super slow, she definitely can take off if she wants to. And my Dumeral's boas are kind of the same way. Like I've got to really support and bring him back to me, otherwise he shoots off like a rocket. The other way they're similar is in how you handle and hold them. I'm always with my larger Dumerals trying to make sure I'm supporting most of his weight. He's just always moving when I have him out, if you guys kind of saw. She's not so much always like that, as you can also see. But when I had my baby, he was kind of the same way as far as how they hold their body structure. So she's not holding on to me very tight. She does, as she moves, tend to kind of wrap her tail around me a little bit. But if there's one way I could describe this animal when I hold her, it's floppy. She's very, very malleable in her posture here. And again, it's, you know, these are ground-dwelling snakes. I think they kind of tend to live out in the swamps out in, obviously, Sumatra and other kind of areas local to that. So they're not climbers. They're sitters. For as big as they get, they don't move around too much. She definitely doesn't. She'll adventure, you know, to her hide and to the water dish. That's about it. What are you doing? But my Dumeral's boas were the same way, because again, they're ground boas. They kind of hide on the forest floor. That's why that patterning that they have is like perfect for hiding under leaves and sticks and stuff like that. So they would kind of do the same thing. They don't really grab onto you that well. They just accept that you've picked them up and you better support them, because they're kind of dumb and they'll fall. Now, reportedly, she is of a species that is not dumb. I've heard from a few keepers that these guys have nearly retic intelligence. We'll see. But she did one day almost fall off the bed. I had to really grab her. I put her there and I was doing her water dish, and you know, she had tended to, until that day, just sit in one spot. And I looked over at her, and she had the majority of her body leaning off the bed, and then you could see she was trying to get back up, and as she was trying to get back up, she was just going to end up sliding off, and I went and I got her. So I've already learned one lesson about how to leave her if I'm doing something real quick. Basically, with a lot of snakes, just, if you can, don't take your eyes off them while you're doing something else. Put them in a snake bag. I put them in a pillowcase sometimes, or put them in a separate tub. I have only a couple. Really only my boa I don't have to worry about, because he tends to just kind of find one spot, anchor his tail, and then just poke around from there. And he's a climber. So as long as I don't leave him next to something that I can't get him off or that he can get into, he's okay. This is kind of her personality. She just pokes around a little bit. What's great about her, and about apparently all of these short-tail species, is she's very expressive with her eyes. Never mind the fact that her eyes are this beautiful kind of orange color with the pupil. There we go, that focused in a little bit. Man, you are so pretty. But they tend to not really kind of look their heads around so much. She'll obviously, you know, as she's poking around and moving her neck, she's looking in different directions, but they don't whip their heads the way kind of any of my other snakes do. So they're moving their eyeballs a lot more, and it's really neat to kind of watch them watch you and figure out what's going on in the rest of their surroundings. I love her pattern. I adore it. I think she is strikingly beautiful. She is, as far as I know, there's no kind of line breeding or anything for her to look a certain way. Nerd described her as captive born, not captive bred. So the assumption there should be actually that her parents were wild caught, or at least one of them. So all I can assume then is basically that this coloration she's got. What are you doing? What are you doing? These wonderful patterns. It's basically just black, white, and gray. She can look a little brown sometimes in certain lights, but I think it's gorgeous anyway. Just the pattern in and of itself. Kind of how it goes down to her belly here. Let's see, show off your tail. It gets really wild over at the tail. So I love it. I think she is strikingly gorgeous. So some of these can be bred to have fiery orange heads. Some of them are bred to just nearly be like jet black. Some are bred to be black with shiny chrome heads. So, but for her, I think she's just gorgeous as is. My favorite part, again, if you guys can kind of see, we'll see what the camera really shows. What are you doing? Every snake goes right for the camera like that. They must, especially a python, must just kind of be able to sense the heat that comes off of the phone. It's going to be real hard, but she's got on that kind of stripe along her face there, and then into her neck, there's this just strawberry pink. Beautiful, beautiful line of pink, and she kind of has it. No, you're not going to look now. But she has it on her lips, too. And it's just amazing. So to just be able to appreciate even this animal's natural beauty, it's no wonder that with specific line breeding you can create just some absolutely gorgeous snakes. I really do like the dark ones. I like the look of a nice black snake in general. I like a lot of IMG boas and things like that. Or BCOs for boas. I think it's boa constrictor occidentalis. Probably pronouncing that wrong. But love the look of those. So I would love one day to maybe work with a dark line of this animal. But again, for now, all I want to really do is just experience her, raise her, and get used to what it is like to own one of these animals, to work with one of these animals, you know, how to raise them. Hopefully she's not going to teach me too many lessons through mistakes, and instead of just lessons through experience. But I'm super stoked to have her in my collection. I'm super stoked to work with her. From what I've seen, there's a great short-tailed python community. Groups and stuff on Facebook, without putting down anyone else. But, you know, working with ball pythons and boas, You find a lot of just kind of arrogant people, ignorant people, and just a lot of hostility. So the short-tail community seems to be pretty chill and just really about, I think, keeping and propagating a very underrated species of snake, 3 species of snake that are available in captivity. I believe there is a 4th short-tailed python species that is known of now. I don't know their name off of the top of my head, but I don't think they're really around in the pet trade. With her, just with how I handle her, never mind always trying to come from below. See how she's wrapped onto me a little bit here, but she's like barely applying any pressure with her tail. And it's real easy to just kind of get it off of you. So I basically holding her for now, especially while she's little. There's no snake that I am more gentle with. Even my little ball python, because he tends to, you know, still when you pick him up, he wraps around you and he grabs on. But she just, yep, her tail would have just fell right there. So I'm trying to really support any area that doesn't seem supported. And she's being real chill. When I first got her, when I unboxed her, she was fine. But the next couple times that I had to take her out, she was a little huffy. So they're very, apparently very vocal snakes anyway, a lot of short tails, bloods. And they kind of, they express that. I don't even know that it's always hissing, but it's a very short and very loud, just huff of air, just versus like my ball python, when she hisses, it's long. It's like letting a balloon out. She's what are you doing? This is not a great way to support yourself. So she was like that, and then she'd be pretty nervous when I open the enclosure. So I'll open it up, and if she's out in the open, like not in her hide, you can see her start to breathe incredibly rapidly, just like super, super quick. But outside of maybe the first time I had to pick her up, she's not been very reactive, looking like she's going to be defensive or anything. The first time I was getting a feel for her, I gave her a little tap with a hook, just like a little nudge. For all of my snakes, when I handle them, I usually give them just like a little touch first. And I was doing that with her, and she whipped her head around instantly at that way, and I was like, oh, okay. So what I've found so far for her is she doesn't want to have a touch first. Instead, you just go in and you grab her. Just pick her right up. Don't hesitate. And the minute she's in your hands, she's nice and calm. Even if she was kind of huffy and nervous beforehand, once she's out and once you've picked her up, she's fine. So she's very sweet. She had been reputably told that she had a great disposition and was easy to work with. The other short tail available said, great disposition, easy to work with and handle. And I wondered for a minute, well, how come they didn't say this one was easy to handle? But she's fine. I don't think I'm going to have any problem ever taking her out and holding her. So, I don't know. Like I said, I'm just getting to know her. And this is kind of how she is once she's out. And I think of all the snakes that I'm personally trying to work with, I'm definitely going to be kind of having her out the most. And again, part of that is just I'm trying to enjoy my animals a little more than I was. Just having them out and interacting with them a little more, and not just having them be mouths to feed and cages to clean, and only taking them out when it's time for that. I just cleaned some major messes earlier today. My boa, holy moly, he made the nastiest mess I've ever seen him make in his life. And then another python peed. But I think for her, I'm going to take her out just, again, not just to enjoy her, but I want to continue to develop a working relationship with her. That's the phrase that I really like. Some people still say, you know, bond with your snake. It's funky to try and kind of think of what their personalities and cognitive abilities really are, and especially for recognizing us. But so I don't want to say we have a bond. It's not like she's going to be like, oh, I love you, Adam, and I don't ever want to be with anyone else, as much as they just get used to you. They get used to how you handle them. They get used to probably how frequently you handle them. And some may have their own personalities still and not adapt to it. Some may, you know, just not take to handling too long or take it to it too well. And you kind of have to learn them as much as they learn you. She's getting nice and brave right now. And that's kind of the other term that I like, is to build confidence with your animal. So with her, that is a big thing I want. I want her to, and hopefully as she gets bigger, that's an easier thing for them too. You know, when they're young and small, any snake tends to be a little nervous. You know, by nature, that's when they're most vulnerable and things are ready to eat them and easily can. But again, the more you kind of work with them and you get them used to that routine and your house and their enclosure and you help to build, like I said, that confidence in that they don't immediately react to you by being nervous or defensive and then need to calm down, you know. And I hear a lot of stories about that often in the boa community. People will be like, yeah, when you open his enclosure, he hisses and freaks out and blah, 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 blah. And then once you take the animal out, it's fine. So kind of like now, like I said, where, you know, I'll open up her enclosure and she'll be breathing rapidly, which is, you know, a sign of that she's scared. And then she does fine when I take her out. I want eventually to be able to open her enclosure and her just look up at me and not be scared. So I want to build, like I said, that working relationship. I want her to build that confidence. I already in a few short sessions have been confident in how I want to handle and interact with her. As much as I want to get into working with more and more of these animals, I'm not going to lie. When I get a new snake, I'm still a little unnerved sometimes that, all right, how's this thing going to behave? And when she whipped her head around at that hook, I was like, oh, Lord, is this going to be a quick one, a bitey one? When I got my adult Dumeral's boa, and that was the first time I had gotten an adult constrictor at that size, and I didn't know a thing about him, and I'm like, oh man, what are his behavioral cues, you know? Nobody wants to get bit, even if you know that it's really not that big a deal. So, but I definitely know, I know now how to kind of interact with her, how to hold her. And, no, there's not much else to say other than I love this animal, and you're going to see a lot of her on this channel because I want to have you guys watch her grow with me and watch the lessons that I do learn with her and everything that she has to teach me. And just because I think, honestly, they're not a super represented species. If you hit up YouTube and search, never mind searching blood python, you'll find blood pythons, but how much great information do you actually find on them? But to find Borneo shorttails and Sumatran shorttails, you're kind of SOL with, I feel like, a lot of great information and a lot of videos that really specifically pertain to them. So I want to put out as much content as I can for this really, I feel like, underrated and underrepresented species. I've only had her for 3 weeks and I'm already championing, get yourself a Sumatran shorttail. I love her. I love her, and I'm happy that I went with this choice. So again, I'm going to link you if you want to know more about any short-tail python. So Sumatrans, Borneos, Bloods. The man to go to is Dan Magano. His channel is Dan Magano Snakes. And like I said, he's been really great just for all the information that I needed to feel confident in getting into these animals. But also just as, you know, a guy who wants to make a YouTube channel and get some followers and just put out quality content, he's been a big inspiration for me too. So I want you guys to definitely check out his channel, give him a subscribe. And my channel's new, I've only got so many videos. You can go on his channel and you can binge watch all weekend. So, all right, that's all we're going to do for today. This is definitely getting long enough. I want to cut most videos that I go to at a half-hour tops. So, you know, and she's not being super exciting, but let's get you one last real great look at her. See that strawberry coloring at all in her lips? Camera's still trying to focus on me more than her. Come on. Where are you? Nope, this is her. She's about 2 feet long. And just amazing. I don't want to name any of my snakes as favorite snakes, but let me tell you, if I had a whole ton of them, she'd already be up there. Alright guys, so again, if you like this channel, please give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe. You'll be entered into my merch giveaway. You want to subscribe and check out that video though, so there's one last step you want to do, and that video will tell you. And check out my Instagram page if you want to just see a lot more content daily. So I'm going to try and put out about 1 to 2 videos a week. A little late this week, so I apologize for that. But for the rest of all my kind of content and things that you'll know about the hobby from the perspective of an average snake keeper, check out the Instagram. Alright guys, I gotta put